Now, we spoke about Chase Buford last week, Cody, and you were still bemused that nothing happened after that Phoenix game where he got a tech but didn't get a second tech and how he stayed in that game.
Yep.
2 weeks later, he ended up getting suspended for that, and he didn't coach against the Jack Jumpers. Kevin Lisch stepped in and did a terrific job. 20-point win in your coaching debut is not a bad way to start, but I don't think you would have been surprised that Chase ended up getting suspended, but why does it take 2 weeks to happen?
Well, it shouldn't. There's just no rhyme or reason why it should take 2 weeks to make that decision. I think it needs to be made within 48 hours of that game.
And before you play another game,
yeah,
surely.
Oh, absolutely. Obviously tougher if you've got, a double header on one day's notice, but at the same time, like, this is a professional league. You need to be able to do that sort of stuff. There's no way it should have been 2 weeks later.
And I think they only found out either the night before the game or the morning of the game that he was suspended.
Yeah, well, it was only announced a few hours before the game was played. So, yeah, very, very interesting to see. It's a tough one because obviously he had that suspended sentence from last year carryover.
Yeah.
So, it's not overly surprising. But I think I'm still just shocked that he wasn't thrown in that game, to be honest with you. It still is a bit baffling. But, no, look, Lisch stepped up nicely and was the cool, calm head. And, to get a win against a quality opponent like that, like Tassie. The squad looked calm and ready to play, and it didn't look like it affected them at all. And that's, certainly signs of a championship contending team.
It was an incredible performance to be in charge of. They shot 69% from the field as a team. They out-rebounded the Jack Jumpers by 18, but a lot of that is simply because they just didn't miss many shots. There was no rebound there for the Tasmania to get.
Exactly.
Now, they did have 23 turnovers, but that was an incredible performance from the Kings. And just on Kev, is he a head coach in waiting somewhere in the league?
Yeah, I think so. He's extremely knowledgeable of the game. He's got that cool head, but he's also got that fire in his belly as well.
He never shows a lot, but he was always the ultimate competitor.
Oh, absolutely. It just never showed on his skin. It was. But look, he's played for some unbelievable coaches, and I mean, you could just see the way he plays that he was a coach in waiting. So it's only a matter of time, I think, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later.
Yep. South East Melbourne Phoenix, they just can't take a trick either. So they just get Alan Williams back to take on the Jack Jumpers, but then early in the game they lose Trey Kell, who's now going to be at least out for their next game, just as they get Ryan Brokoff back. So they just can't take a trick. I don't know if I've seen a game where a team takes 25 less shots than their opponents, Cody. So the Jack Jumpers ended up just dominating that game in every way you can dominate a game. So they took 85 field goals to 60. They forced the Phoenix into 25 turnovers, 22 offensive rebounds to 12. Fascinating to hear Mitch Creek talk after the game. He was really hard on himself for being the biggest reason why they lost, and he felt he and Alan Williams were the two biggest reasons why the team gave up what they did. I felt like he was probably being a little bit overly harsh on himself, but at the same time, you want your leaders to care that much. What did you make of the woes of the Phoenix, and can they turn it around?
It's just got to be so frustrating. It's frustrating sitting and watching it happen because we know how good they can be.
Yeah.
And they'd be a legitimate contender with a full squad. Yep. And like we've seen earlier in the season, when they did have their full squad, they were tough. Like they would have taken it to anybody. Yeah, it's just, I don't know what's going on or what's happening, if it's luck or if it's something they're doing on the training court or in the weight room or what's going on, but
it's hard to say. I mean,
it is.
Gary Brown's was a soft tissue, but Brokoff sounded like it was a real freak.
Yeah.
Sort of hip or groin injury, and then Trey Kells was just a knock to his knee. And I guess you can't do much about Joe Shea. If he needs to go home, he needs to go home.
Yeah, absolutely. And said it multiple times, like luck plays such a big part in sport in general. Yeah. And they're just they've got the wrong side of the coin on this one, unfortunately. Again. We saw it last season where they were riddled with it and fell away and just, ended up not making finals. And look, I think they still obviously make finals, but I mean, if they get healthy, then you won't want to come up against them.
No.
But it's they've got to start getting healthy quick because there's not a whole lot of season left, really.
Do you like when someone like Creek takes such responsibility for it post-match?
Yeah, I do. I think signs of a good leader. You know, I think he and Williams both can certainly take, you know, a lot of the blame. I think they probably needed to be even more aggressive. Yep. I mean, we've seen those two guys been the standouts for that squad all season.
Yeah, I think what stood out to Creek, what he was referring to, was the fact that they combined for 11 turnovers and the amount of offensive rebounds they gave up to their direct opponents.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a lot on those two. You know, they're, especially the O boards, they're the guys in there that need to be collecting those rebounds. And look, it doesn't fall solely on those two at all.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. But, you know, as someone on the squad, you want to see your leaders taking that on board, but you also take that personally as well. Yep. So I think it's good. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out next game. Because
they've got the Sydney Kings now, and
probably
by the time most people are listening to this, that game would have happened. But they need to respond, and
they do.
But it's not going to be easy, because last time they beat the Kings in double overtime, Cooks didn't play a lot of that game, and we saw what Creek did. But Cooks is up and firing now.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But look, I think they're up for the challenge, and hopefully they can get some bodies back.
They'll have Brokoff, but they won't have Kel, so it kind of offsets one for the other.
It does, and then Brokoff not playing for a few games again, so got to get that rhythm back and that wind, and it doesn't take long to lose.